Hey there, happy Thursday to you. I thought I would take a few minutes and share with you a little bit about what God has been doing in me personally as we've been in this wonderful new season or something like that. And so it's been an adjustment for me. I'm sure that it has been for many of you as well. But I hope that this is an encouragement to you. So, one of the things that I've learned about myself is that while I do benefit from like just sitting quietly before the Lord, that oftentimes God talks to me when I'm doing something physically. So when I'm out walking, when I'm working in the yard, those kinds of things. And I've also noticed that He talks to me a lot through through headphones, just often through music. And so what I like to do is when I go outside to mow the lawn or I'm just kind of working in the yard, I throw on headphones and I just let the library of songs play randomly. They're on a shuffle, which is kind of fun. Sometimes I'll get Christmas music. It could be a whole range of things: classical, rock and roll, R&B, country, whatever it might be. And I just kind of let it play, and that's kind of my way of just sort of being outside and paying attention to what's going on in my own heart and mind. Well, this week earlier, I was mowing the lawn, and there were two moments where I felt like the Lord used my headphones to talk to me a little bit. The first one was through a song called "I Hear Alicia," and it was a song that Michael W. Smith did on his Eye to Eye album. So, like, kind of think way back, early '90s is kind of when that came out. And the first time I connected with that song, actually, I think that might have come out in like '88. Anyways, I remember it from early '90s. That's when I connected with it. Somebody close to me had passed away then, and that song in particular was precious. It's a song about grief, but it's also a song about hope and the presence and the comfort that we can have in the Lord. It was just special to me. And so this week, as I was mowing the lawn, I just felt like the Lord was reminding me of His presence, and just kind of like looking out for me, and that felt really good. The second moment was when a piece by the Danish String Quartet came on, and it just struck me as so uplifting and hopeful. It was an encouragement to like my very person, to my soul. And as I listened to that, it actually grabbed me enough that I pulled my phone out of my pocket just to look at what the title was. Sometimes I'm just listening to music and I'm like, I know who this is, but I can't remember which song it is. And the title of that piece was Easter Morning, which I thought was awesome. That God used those notes, that tune, that melody to grab my attention and then to remind me of Easter. And obviously, Easter is, we're here, it's right around the corner. But in the midst of all of the questions and kind of the burden of leadership and wanting to do the right thing, to be faithful to the Lord, sometimes you just need the Lord to come in and just remind you that there is legitimate and actual hope in Him, and that comes in the life-giving actions of Jesus. So I wanted to also share with you a couple of observations from Mark chapter 3. If you're on the Waypoint app, and if you click on Bible, you'll find that Mark chapter 3 is the reading for today. And the first 6 verses tell a story that I think ties into all of this, just how Jesus operates, who Jesus is, and how we can respond to Him. So I wanted to read it for you and then just share a couple of quick, hopefully encouraging notes for us. So it says this, Mark chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. Another time Jesus went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand up in front of everyone." Then Jesus asked them, "Which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill?" they remained silent. He looked around at them in anger and, deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. Then the Pharisees went out and began to plot with the Herodians how they might kill Jesus. This story is an awesome story. It is life-giving on so many levels. And I'm not going to unpack all of it for us, but two things that are just striking to me and hopefully are compelling to you as well. The first one is in verse 4, and it's in that moment when Jesus looks at them and he asks them, what's lawful on the Sabbath? To do good or evil, to save life or to kill? And I was just struck by that contrast, that Jesus understood it in such a clear, definite way. Are these actions life-giving actions, or are they life-taking actions? And whether there's an actual, giving of life or a taking of life, those are, I guess, the extremes of those things. By the way, the Pharisees were plotting. They were looking for a reason to kill him. But even as I think about my own response to all of this, is my response a life-giving response? Or is it something that drains others? Am I speaking words of life? Am I doing things that promote life? Or am I doing things that are on the opposite end of that? And it's just something that I felt like I needed to chew on as I listened to that. And so I'm taking that one to heart. Am I doing things that are life-giving or life-taking? And the second piece is just Jesus' response to their silence. He asked them that question, and then it says he looked around. I think he was angry, and then it says he was deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts. And I found myself just asking, God, is my heart stubborn? Am I being defensive in any way toward you? What's taking place there? Am I living by faith? Am I living out of fear? What's present, truly present inside me? Am I becoming, unreasonably irritated or angry at those around me? When I hear an opinion or read an opinion that's the opposite of mine, and I think about that person, what's going on inside? And those are important questions for us to ask. If we're going to emulate Jesus, if we're going to be ambassadors for the one who laid down his life for us so that we could live, then that's going to change how we operate on the day by day. So he's just distressed at that. It bothers him that they would have these stubborn hearts, that they couldn't recognize an opportunity to give life when it was right there in front of them. And then, of course, his ultimate response is just to simply heal the man, to give him a full restoration of all that was there. And I'm sure that was a day that man never forgot. And as I think about this passage, and I think about how God talks to me when through the headphones, and kind of even just what happened earlier this week, I'm just so glad that Jesus restores and that he gives us life, that he knows what we need, sometimes even before we ask. I didn't feel like I was incredibly, anxious or burdened as I was outside mowing the lawn, and yet as I interacted with those songs and just had that time with the Lord, I realized that I needed to be encouraged and lifted up. So my prayer for you is that you would experience the restoration and the life-giving ministry of Jesus in your own life, and then secondly, that you would be an agent of life as well, that God would use you and that you'd be a willing participant in this journey. God bless you. Have a great Thursday. Love you all.